This is the Louie Network.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T, here on this Louie Network exclusive. The NFL went crazy today. The Bills, I felt like they executed an NBA trade today. And I don't have a lot of time. We're going to dive into this thing a lot more extensively later. I got a hot date tonight, so I can't spend a ton of time with y'all here. But I want to jump on, talk about this trade, talk about Zeke Elliott getting suspended quickly, and get the hell out of here. So this Bills trade or trades felt like an NBA three-team trade, okay? These were two exclusive trades. These had nothing to do with one another. The Bills were wheeling and dealing today. The first trade was a blockbuster, okay? Sammy Watkins looked good last night. He looked healthy for the first time in a long time. And so no one really expected this trade to go down. But the Bills shipped off Sammy Watkins to Los Angeles in exchange for, with a sixth-round pick, a 2018 sixth-round pick, in exchange for EJ Gaines and a second-round pick. So the Bills get EJ Gaines and a second-round pick. We'll come back to that trade in a second. But the Bills weren't done, okay? The Bills turned around and said, hey, Philadelphia, what you want for Jordan Matthews? They said, hey, we need some cornerback help too. How about you give us some help at the cornerback position and we'll give you the receiver you're looking for. The Bills cough up Ronald Darby, ship him off to Philadelphia. The Eagles, in exchange, ship off Jordan Matthews and a third-round 2018 selection to Buffalo. So the Bills gain a corner, lose a receiver, gain a receiver. Does that make any sense? I don't know. You tell me. But they have assets for 2018 now. That is the big caveat out of both trades. They were able to pick up some picks and give them some ammunition in case they need to do something potentially at the quarterback position, even though I like Nathan Peterman, or at the receiver position in case Jordan Matthews isn't the guy that they love. Look, let's talk about the Bills here, and then we'll get to the Rams and what this trade means for them and what it means for the Eagles, and then we'll talk about the Zeke Elliott situation, and then we'll get out of here. So let's start with the Bills because they were the major players in this trade. And or these trades, I should say. And from the Bills' perspective, I look at it like this. They got a new GM in there, in Brandon Beane, and he's looking around at a bunch of stuff that isn't his. And you know how this is in the NFL. When you come in as a general manager, you're looking at all the stuff that you don't like, that you don't really feel you have a need for, and you're like, I want to get rid of that, I want to get rid of that, I want to get rid of that, I want to get rid of that. And it's the same premise we saw in San Francisco when the 49ers were talking about trading tight end Vance McDonald. You come in, you look at some stuff that you didn't draft, that's not your stuff, that some other GM put on this roster that you're not a fan of, and you say, how can I get rid of this? How can I get rid of that? How can I get some of the players in here that I liked when I was scouting him in the 20 fill-in-the-blank draft? And so Brandon Beane comes in. He says, you know what? Samuel Watkins always hurt. Samuel Watkins never available. We didn't pick up his option for a reason in Buffalo. I didn't draft this guy. Let's get something while we still can. Remember, the Bills traded up in the draft when they selected Samuel Watkins. So they're like, let's get something back for this man. Do I love this decision? Not necessarily. Why don't I love this decision? Because you don't have a number one receiver on your team right now after this trade. Now, you could argue the point. You never had a number one receiver because Sammy Watkins was never healthy. But when he was healthy, he was effective. And that's the biggest thing here is Jordan Matthews isn't a number one in this league. We've seen that in Philadelphia. Maybe a change of scenery helps him develop a little bit more. But I think we know who he is as a football player. I love Zay Jones. It's ironic. I just put out the Bills draft video today, and I talked about how Zay Jones could be the best number two in this entire league if he has the right complement as a number one. He's no one's Batman. He's the best Robin potentially down the road. Yet now he's in a position where he may be asked to be the number one receiver because they don't have a number one receiver. Now you got 22 twos on your team if you're the Buffalo Bills because Jordan Matthews is a 2, Zay Jones is a 2. You got a ton of number 2 type receivers, no alpha dog at the receiver position. But you did acquire a second-round pick from the Rams who may stink again, which could be a high-level draft pick for you. So there is a caveat there, but I don't love the pick from a weapon standpoint and from a developmental standpoint from Zay Jones because I really think Zay Jones is a number 2 in this league, but we will see. And as far as the trade with the Eagles is concerned, Jordan Matthews comes in, gives you a little bit of a guy that I thought played well in the slot last year when the Eagles moved him to the slot. You get the occasional drop. So that's something that you can be concerned with. But let's talk about the E.J. Gaines return here for the Bills. Solid cornerback. Started for the Rams last year. This is a guy that can come in and potentially start for the Buffalo Bills. And so we'll see how this trade-off works because you give away Ronald Darby to the Eagles, and we'll talk about that in a second. And so that's a situation where I look at it and I say, I don't know if that's an equal trade there or not. If you're going to give away Darby and get Gaines and feel like you got equal value there. Again, separate trades, but that all of these things played into the fold when making these decisions. But again, you netted a third-round selection there in that trade with the Eagles. So again, you adding in assets, second, third-round picks in next year's draft, and you get compensation back in the form of players that can help you now. It seems like a good move for the Bills. I'm not in love with the Sammy Watkins trade. Don't really have that big of a problem with the Jordan Matthews trade and Ronald Darby. Let's move on to the Rams side of things here. And I love it from the Rams side of things. Now, the only way that this works for the Rams is if you have a situation where Sammy Watkins, A, stays healthy, B, you can re-sign him. Remember, the Bills didn't pick up that option. I don't think they have the opportunity to do that now. And so, do you love what you get out of Sammy Watkins? I know this much. Sean McVay needs a number 1 receiver to make his offense work. And so, hey, I love Cooper Kupp as much as the next guy. I love Robert Woods as much as the next guy. They are not number 1 receivers in this league, and Sammy Watkins is. Again, if he's healthy, you now have a bona fide stud at that number 1 wide receiver position. Everyone else can fall into line. Now, all of a sudden, Robert Woods. And it seems like the Bills just basically gave their starting receivers to the Rams, and now you're going to see the Rams kind of transform that offense. If they stay healthy, they being Sammy Watkins, Robert Woods, and Cooper Kupp, along with the tight end position now, all of a sudden the weaponry out there, you add in the running back position in Todd Gurley, and all of a sudden the Rams have an explosive, dynamic offense. Love the trade for them. The only way that second round pick is justified is if Sammy Watkins turns out to be the guy that we all thought he could be when the Buffalo Bills moved up in the draft to select him. If he turns out to be a stud and you're able to re-sign him, that second round pick, that is great value for a number 1 receiver in this league. So we'll see what happens. That 6th round pick is of no consequence to me. To me, it's trade bait. If you want to move up in the draft, you want to do something, you got an extra 6th round pick to do so. As far as the Eagles are concerned in all of this, they give away Jordan Matthews. I don't love giving away Jordan Matthews. I heard he had a really close relationship with Carson Wentz. They were forming a nice bond on and off the field. But besides that, this is another one of those situations where you look at a general manager in Howie Roseman who was cast aside by Chip Kelly, and he's looking at Jordan Matthews and he's saying, that's not my stuff. I didn't draft that stuff. I'm not fond of this stuff. Let's get this stuff out of here and get some stuff in here that we need, as they need cornerback help desperately. But more importantly, I'm tired of seeing a guy that reminds me of Chip Kelly and the nonsense and the garbage that he did here. Let's get Jordan Matthews out of here. And so it's a situation where you strike while the iron's hot. Jordan Matthews is a guy that is still young, still upside. You figure you could still get something for him. You ship him out, and you get Ronald Darby in return. And this is a move that the Eagles are looking to make to fortify that secondary that really struggled. They feel like they're not that far away offensively with Doug Peterson pulling the strings as the head coach. They feel like the problem is on defense, and if they can fix that now, they may be able to make a faster turnaround in the NFC East than people are giving them credit for. So I understand the move from their point of view. They feel like they've got a ton of targets out there, and so they think they'll be fine at receiver, but they were really hurting at corner. Do I love giving up a third-round pick in addition to giving up Jordan Matthews? Absolutely not. But if Ronald Darby pans out, again, you can't quantify guys coming in and helping you right away. If you can get that from Ronald Darby, then that third-round pick becomes irrelevant at the end of the day. If he comes in and balls out for you and gives you something that you lack in the secondary, and that's a bona fide corner that can get the job done and also make some plays. So this is a crazy trade. Like I said, it reminds me of the NBA. It's crazy. I didn't see this coming. I don't think any of us saw this coming. And again, so close to the season, generally these types of things don't happen. This has been a wacky offseason. A lot of things happening out of place in terms of time frames. GMs getting fired before the draft. It's crazy. And this is another crazy chapter in what has been a crazy offseason nonetheless. Let's get on to the last topic before I get out of here, and that's Zeke Elliott. And look, we knew this was going to happen. The league had been kind of sitting behind the scenes and really plotting their way to suspending him. And he's given them all the ammunition that they could have asked for in this situation. They gave him 6 games. I thought that was a little harsh, but they've already talked about the domestic violence angle of things and how that's an automatic 6-game suspension. The target number here for the league was 4 games, so they give him 6. Zeke's going to appeal the suspension. They're going to knock it down to 4, and that's probably where we'll end up at when it's all said and done. But make no mistake about it, they've in a letter that they issued to Zeke Elliott, they're talking about potentially banishing him from the league if he doesn't clean up his act. Look, I can tell you one thing. Zeke Elliott definitely has a complex issue where he feels like he's superior to women. He doesn't respect them. I can see that by his actions. And so I'm not putting anything past him. I hope this is a wake-up call because he is so talented. And Jerry Jones isn't going to give up on him. As you can see, Jerry's whispering in his ear right now, hey, Zeke, league's going to give you 6 games suspension. I'm going to talk to Roger, and I'm going to get him to reduce it to 4. Now, look, I can't protect you if you don't do what you're supposed to do off the field, Zeke, okay? We need you on the field, and we need you to be able to play all 16 games like you did last season. So what I'm going to need you to do is stop fondling women, stop hitting women, and I need you to be on the football field. Can you do that for me, Zeke? I think he's going to be able to do that. I think this is going to be a wake-up call for him because missing 4 games, and this could hurt the Cowboys in the grand scheme of things, missing the first 4 games of the season is going to be very costly for the Cowboys, and he's a huge part of what they do offensively. And we talked about how deep they are at running back. Derek McFadden and Alfred Morris, huge drop-off from Zeke Elliott. So Cowboys are going to feel the impact of him not being on the field for the first 4 games. You heard it here first. That suspension is going to be reduced to 4 games, and Zeke Elliott will be back after the first 4 games of the season. But in any event, that's going to hurt the Cowboys. To what extent, we don't know. We thought the Brady suspension was going to hurt the Patriots last year, and look what they did in that 4-game stretch. So who's to say what it will do to the Cowboys start of the season for them? But one thing's for sure, it's going to make it a lot tougher for them to repeat as NFC East champions with one of their best players, if not their best player, on the shelf for the first 4 to 6 games of the season. That's going to do it for your man Louie T here on the Louie T Network. Wanted to jump on live quickly and talk about the craziness that's going on in the league today. Eagles trade Jordan Matthews to the Bills for cornerback Ronald Darby. They also slide in a 3rd-round pick due the Philadelphia Eagles to the Buffalo Bills. Bills also then trade Sammy Watkins, a former 1st-round pick, to the Los Angeles Rams in exchange for cornerback C.J. Gaines and a 2nd-round pick. So Bills making moves. We'll see how these moves all pan out for all parties involved. Feels like the NBA today. I don't know. In any event, that's going to do it for your man Louie T. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one. Enjoy preseason football. I'll see you next time.